almost immediately after the justices ruled, candidate Trump said it was a big win for him. Um, is that true? Was this a win, slam dunk? Or was there, do you see anything in terms of what the justices did or didn't do that could have gone differently for candidate Trump?
I believe that candidate Trump described this as a big win for America. He went out on Truth Social Media and made it known. And I think in some respects, it is, given that there are so many Americans who have voted for Trump. And I think his characterization is pretty accurate for his campaign and for what he was trying to do to become elected president again. This was a hurdle that had to be crossed. So now this hurdle has been completed. He will appear on the ballots. The next hurdle is another case in front of the Supreme Court that deals with whether he has presidential immunity with respect to the indictment involving the alleged insurrection. So that's the next hurdle that he'll have to go over. And whether or not the Supreme Court will decide that before the election or in time for those cases to go forward remains to be seen. However, the court has made us all aware that they are cognizant of the election schedule. I don't think it's by any coincidence that today's decision came out on Monday in advance of Super Tuesday, when a lot of voters will go out and cast their ballot. So they're cognizant of what's going on. And I think that's a strong indicator that we will hear from the Supreme Court once the issue is briefed, once it's argued on immunity, that they have shown a willingness to act fairly quickly.
Yeah, and then we're almost out of time. So final question. Are there any, you spoke very clearly about what this says about states' inability to disqualify a presidential candidate. Um, as an attorney, as a expert in this arena, do you foresee there being an entity out there, whether it's Congress or someone else, that may then, elevate this and say, okay, then we're going to address this at the federal level? I look into your crystal ball. I'm not, I won't hold you to it, but do you think this may be coming once we're through the state primary season?
I highly doubt it because it would be viewed as such a political attack, even though there may be some cognizable legal argument or something that they could put together maybe after the case goes forward with the alleged insurrection and the case brought by the Department of Justice against Donald Trump. Maybe then potentially, if there's a guilty verdict or something along those lines, could Congress drum this up? But that gets really into the minutia of the senators, the congressmen in the House of Representatives that are going to potentially make this decision. It's a very political statement for them to make. So looking into my crystal ball, I would say no. I think anything would be viewed as more of a political attack than having a substantive basis. And at some point, I think there will be, if there has not already been, a certain level of blowback against the repeated attempts to limit Trump's ability to run for president. I believe at some point, the American public wants to see his name on the ballot. If he wins the election, he wins. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I think there's a sentiment underlying the country right now that sort of these other actions, these other cases against him are just ways to limit him from being on the ballot, when it really is a decision that should come down ultimately to the American people in deciding who to vote for on that day in November.